as we said on the air the last couple of weeks, we've been disappointed we haven't been able to do any live gigs this year and indeed last year. So we thought this was the next best thing because everyone's now living in a Zoom world. And so we're calling it like our book launch.
It is.
As best you can. And we're hoping to be joined soon by a significant football figure because you have to have significant people launch your book for you.
Yeah, you need someone to break a bottle of champagne against the book.
So we're hoping he'll join us very shortly. So apologies if you've been listening to the show, be well aware that Jeff hasn't been on for the last 4 weeks. As Andy pointed out this morning, Richo, we've been doing a mini pre-season.
Well, that's what you do. If you get injured during the year, you get a mini pre-season in 6 weeks of heavy training to get your cherry ripe and ready for the finals.
Been training the house.
He has, and he'll be back for the last week to get him ready so we can get into the finals with him, our captain being ready to take the first bounce for the first final.
And you might also realise Simon's not here. It was great having Simon come back to the show last year, but he makes very limited appearances. He does the show and he goes home.
He's got a few options to go to.
He's got options to go to. And Champs, of course, has moved back to Adelaide. And he was going to join us on the Zoom, but he sent me a message last night to say that he had a 60th birthday to go to.
And he doesn't have Zoom.
It hasn't reached Adelaide yet.
It's the only person in Australia that doesn't have Zoom.
They don't have Configs and they don't have Zoom.
Or he hasn't got a laptop either, he said.
No, wow.
But they've got electricity now, apparently.
But it's only black and white.
Let's have a look at some of the questions.
So B. McKinnon saying Rich Avon looking wet. Well, all of us have been to Rich Avon. That was my local cricket club.
Okay.
When 10 years ago,
Yes.
we took you out for a barbecue before we went and did
That's where we learnt about the Bull Oak Times.
You did.
Yes.
And so Rich Avon, it's wonderful that it's looking wet, but they don't play much cricket out there anymore, which is a real shame. So
That's where I met your dad for the first
there
time.
you go. Yeah, he regrets that day ever since.
Well, I offered him my sympathies for having you for a son.
I also, talking to Simon, there was a mention there about why Simon's not in the photo on the book cover. That photo was actually taken about, not 2017.
It was one of our early Father's Day gigs at the Arts.
No, it was a different one, Torch. It was taken for your article in the Grand Final Record in 2017.
That one.
I wrote an article for the Footy Record of 2017, which was 30 years after it appeared as part of the pre-match, and for the Footy Record. So Michael Wilson's the photographer with 2 L's. He's the leading AFL photographer, and thanks to our great publisher Michael Wilkinson from Wilkinson Publishing, Michael agreed to pay the exorbitant fee that the AFL charged for the use of the photo.
I know.
That's where all the costs went.
No, they did.
To the AFL.
It's worth it, though.
And Simon, of course, wasn't with us at the time. And even if it was being taken today, I don't think we'd put Simon in it anyway.
No.
No.
He wouldn't lower himself to hamming it up in such a way.
I'm just wondering which part of the pack he would be in. He'd
Yeah.
probably be skulking over the back, hoping for a
Probably.
loose ball.
Let's just run down the right here. Swish says, my daughter ordered my birthday book online. Well, you're not supposed to know that, Swish. And he saw it at his newsagent as well. Well, look, why don't you buy the one at the newsagent? And then when you get the one from your daughter, you can act really surprised.
Here we go.
Our significant football identity has just stormed in.
How are you, Mark? I'm good.
Please
Good to see
welcome
you.
Mark McClure. Hello, sellers.
Hello, boys. How you going?
Good to have you here. And
Good to see you're still alive, you blokes.
yeah,
And you.
And me too.
are you doing special comments on anything today?
Not really. What do you want me to talk about?
No, on the footy this afternoon. On the
Yeah, I'm doing something. Talking some rubbish.
Look, Mark, we got you in because you are actually in the book. You're
One of what, 300,000 names?
yeah, you're mentioned in the nickname glossary.
Yeah.
Sellers, Mark McClure, because someone else talked about you.
No, well, I think the book features interviews with 3 Carlton full forwards from the early 80s.
Yeah.
Warren Ralph,
Yeah.
Ross Ditchburn, and
Darryl Gilmore.
Yes.
all played in your era. And they all came and went, and some of them kicked lots of goals, and Darryl Gilmore only played the one game, even though he kicked about 4 goals. But they all mention you
And-
playing footy with
But the
you.
ultimate mention to you come.
Why?
Oh no,
Maybe you're their captain?
Maybe I handballed to him.
yeah.
Not like
No, they
you.
didn't handball to me.
Thanks, both Warren, Ralph, and Ross Ditchburn were Western Australia.
They were too.
Yeah.
Actually, I can just
And
quote.
so am I.
I'll just quickly quote from page where we also spoke to Rudy Webster,
Yes.
Mhm.
and Rudy Webster on page 260.
You were the only bloke he couldn't get through to.
He says,
Correct.
I said, I'm looking at the rundown for the program today. Coming up is Carlton captain Mark McClure. Rudy Webster said yes. Billy said, can you recall working with Mark at Carlton? Anything known? And Rudy Webster said, well, not on the field, but off the field, possibly.
He put me in a dark room and told me to hold hands with the blokes next to me. I said, you what?
Did that work?
No.
No.
Just got up and went out. Well,
So having popped in, can you officially launch the book and say, declare it open or something?
well, I think that I don't know how many books you guys have done and how many you're going to do, but this won't be the last, I'm sure. Half chicken and chips. That's not me. I'm a full chicken with a bucket of chips. I love that.
Maximum chips.
Maximum chips. But anyway, look, to me, it sounds like really good. I've been listening to these guys since I was playing football as a kid, 18 years of age at Carlton, and then going through, driving in on the way to the footy.
Yeah.
We listen to you all the time, and you're still going, which is an extraordinary,
Oh.
you know. And we're all in our 60s, probably 70s, nearly.
Yeah.
You 70 yet?
No, I'm the youngest.
He's the
What are
youngest.
you?
I've
65.
tipped over to the
You're the
70s.
youngest. I'm with you.
Oh,
That's
really?
66. But anyway, it's been fantastic and fabulous, and I hope you enjoy.
Oh, well done.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Alex.
We'll let you go.
I'm out, am I?
Yeah, you got
Got the
extensive
flick?
preparation to do for the rest of the
Yeah,
day.
I don't know. I've got to think up something.
Apparently, we've heard,
Thanks, Alice. Thanks, Alice.
we have
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, mate.
we have heard that Grandstand today have got a little bit of a party going on. There's bottles of red. There's some beers have been brought in, some roast beef rolls, and they're
Really?
going to have a very good time.
We must
Mark
think
and Al and the boys. So
Really?
yeah,
Just like being at Carlton. Really?
yeah, a little bit.
And I bought a packet of Tim Tams in for us.
Well, 4 packets of Tim Tams.
They're on special.
Actually, Georgie Dwyer has asked the question, how did Mark get the nickname Sellers? And a lot of people still wonder about that to this day.
Mm.
When he was at Carlton, apparently he was rather awkward one day, bumping into things in the rooms. And that movie, The Party, was on at the time
The Peter
with
Sellers.
Peter Sellers.
Yes.
And someone said, oh, look at Mark over there. You know, he looks like Peter Sellers.
Mm.
And somehow that got shortened to Sellers, and he's been Sellers ever since.
There you go. There's a message from Sean. Not many young'uns on the Zoom. What am I going to do about attracting a younger demographic?
Mm.
Well, I don't know.
Give us your strategy.
Okay, well, it's all about TikTok. TikTok is the strategy. This is the Coodabeens next year will be 90-second little bursts once a week.
So out the social media question, in 2 hours of TikTok.
In is TikTok. Oh, yeah. So I don't know. I think we've been doing it all right for 40 years. I've been doing it for 17, and we'll just keep going.
You just hang around. That's
I
the
do.
thing.
A
Yeah.
bad smell.
And he's still young.
Yep.
Yeah, amazing.
And we go down here and said, is that the end of the questions?
We
No.
can go up higher. There
Oops.
might be some more have come in.
Peter says, I'm also in Adelaide. Got the book, already love your work. Covey, how do you think the Cats will go this year? Oh, that's terrific. Haven't been asked that for a while.
No,
Hey.
very good.
After the announcement yesterday that Tom Stewart's got a mystery foot injury, I'm very anxious about their prospects now.
You're not one player. You know, someone will come in to cover it.
It's always an opportunity. For
Yeah,
another
when
player
Adam
to step
Tomlinson
up.
went down
Yes.
for Melbourne with a knee injury, Harry Petty came in and has been just as good, if not better. So you'll find someone. Someone will bob
Someone
up.
with 2 arms and 2 legs.
Yeah.
Steve's from Lake Wonboyne. Where's Lake
Oh, it's
Wonboyne?
up just over the border.
Is it?
On the way up
Is
to
it-
Eden.
Near Eden,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice part of the world. Welcome, Steve.
Steve says he's been listening to the Coodabeens ever since Timmy's uncle was fencing TVs from his garage. I don't think he ever did that, did he? That's a terrible thing to say.
The Swans, not the Swans. We've got 3 new messages. So
Last week it was the Saints, not the Saints.
Oh, that's good. Andrew's bringing the young'uns in. His young bloke came in and said, "What are you doing, Dad?" And now he's watching. Well, g'day to Andrew's young bloke as well.
And
That's
Brett,
our younger demographic.
yeah, Brett says, my son won the quiz once. I hope the prize got to him. I think he values it more than his VCE. Oh, I think I would too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The quiz is very.
That's right. How many people win the quiz compared to how many people get their VCE?
Run us through how you and Andy got the book together, Cove.
Well, again, after last year, and thank you to all the people that bought the book last year. If you didn't, you can buy it now as part of a pack with the new one.
Yeah, it's
at a special
at a
price.
special price.
The after we did the book last year, which was 30 years after our previous footy book, and I've said we were just taking books 30 years at a time. Michael Wilkinson, our publisher, said, "Oh, that seems to have gone rather well. Why don't you do another one?" And I said, "Yeah, in 30 years' time." And Michael said, "No, next year." So we thought the first book being, all about us and our history, it might be good to do something about other people, particularly those people we've interviewed on the show. And I think, Andy, we calculated we've done more than 1,000 interviews.
Even in the last 15 years since sort of I've been on board and collating lots of interviews and filling up the show with them, it's been well over 1,000. And we decided to go back through the annals of Coodabeen's history and find 50 of the ones that tickled our fancy.
Yeah, and it was a two-part process, because one was identifying the interviews to put in the book, and we've got a lot of the shows archived, but rather than having to listen to all the shows to find the interviews, fortunately, we've kept all the running sheets as well. Believe it or not, we do have a running sheet on a Saturday. It's one A4 sheet with a bit of info on it.
In Courier font, it hasn't changed since the Ronnie Engelhart days 25 years ago for Coodabeen. So
That's right, and
yeah.
which we then ignore completely.
Yeah, well,
And
thanks for that, Torch. That's just my life's work, but
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
But here's the book I paste them in, and there is today's. Where's the camera, Andy? Up there?
Up the top there.
This one here.
There's the running sheet there on that side, and the handwritten bit on that side. That's my quiz questions.
Ooh.
And Ian's so thorough that if Ian's away and I do Billy's bafflers, he insists I give him the sheet that I write it on, and he sticks that in as well. So he's the Bill Wyman of our Rolling Stones, in that he is chronologically adroit at getting us historically correct.
So what we did was we went through the running sheets. There were some interviews we actually remembered pretty clearly. We said, "Oh, we must look for that one, look for that one." Then others, when we went through the running sheets, it jogged our memory about them. Then Andy found them all, and we downloaded them and used a software program that converts voice to text.
And yeah, artificial intelligence program. And then I had to go through and fix all the little mistakes that the AI made. But
And then I had to go through and fix all the big mistakes that Andy missed.
Yep.
And
we came out with what you see in front of you.
because you know how when you get voice to text on your phone, often it doesn't, you have to try and interpret it because they don't quite get it right. You know? And there were, for examples, were like the program software did things like, half forward flank became hardboard plank. So you had to do a little bit of nudging.
The one that I've always found interesting was the amount of ways that artificial intelligence can find to spell Geelong. It was Jelon and Gelyng, and it was quite amazing. But there's a question there from Scott. Is there any way you can get your book signed? Well, if we can ever get out of lockdown and we'll start doing some gigs again, come along and get it signed, because we will sign as many as get put in front of us. We'd love to see you all one day soon, hopefully.
We bring along our own Sharpies, just the same.
Yeah, we do.
And can I answer a question from, I think it was Gary Tepper, about the Billy Baxter wetlands at the Warrandyte Reserve near the Mullum Creek?
Was that where you've been working?
Well, there's a fellow several years ago who was a fan of independent music, and he named areas. He was the garden designer or in charge of that national park, and he named areas of the wetland after his favourite bands. I think the Killjoys are name checked there, and Sea Stories as well. And they got very nice parts of the reserve. I got the wetlands, which were sort of down the back and prone to flooding.
Are you near the freeway as well?
Well, I probably am.
How appropriate.
And we did a gig there once.
In the wetlands.
Well, up near the information centre. So I hope that satisfies your curiosity.
You've kept that very quiet. We should
Well,
do an OB from there.
I don't blow my own bags, Cove. I leave that to others.
That's a very rude question from owner's iPad there. What is my real job? What do you mean, what's my real job? I got to look after these turkeys. Have done for 17 years.
Well, actually, we
He's
do
the only one who's IT literate.
Well, the last 2 years, we've had Chris Hollow was our producer. Chris now produces the Sammy J Breakfast Show on the ABC.
Uh-huh.
And so we have Maddie, M-A-D-I. Maddie might even be watching this. Maddie Cavasta. And
Hi, Maddie.
she works 3 days a week on the breakfast show as well, and spends a bit of time lining up our show. So she's doing a great job, Maddie.
And Chris Hollow played for St Kilda. Who did Maddie play for?
She's a
a
big
dog.
She's a Dogs fan.
Yeah.
Big Dogs fan.
And Chris also played for Port Melbourne.
He did.
He
with
captained
with
Port
my
Melbourne.
nephew. Yes.
Did he?
Yeah, he was captain in Alt Melbourne.
With young
Estelle, hello Estelle. We haven't seen you for a long time. Estelle's a long-term fan of the Coodabeens in the rock champs rock bands and our on air, and asking what happened to Rotten Ronnie. Well, Rotten Ronnie retired, Estelle. He worked at the ABC long enough, and he said, "I've got a good super. I'm going to Rosebud, and I'm going to build some houses."
And I'm going to go through the trading post to find old cars.
Yes,
to do
and
up.
motorbikes.
Rotten
Absolutely.
Ronnie preceded you as the producer.
He did indeed. Yeah, he was my mentor here at the ABC.
We had a little lunch after the show a few weeks back before Chance moved to Adelaide, and Ronnie came along and joined us.
He did.
And in fact, Greg left after about 20 minutes, so we had a great time catching up with Ron.
Greg left at half time.
It was in Ronnie out Champs after 20 minutes. He got subbed out.
Yeah.
Dear.
Champs had a gig to go to.
Well, there's a very long question from George. Copyright question for Simon. George, can we take that on notice? He says, can I transfer programs from cassette tape to MP3 without receiving? Please explain from ABC. We didn't see that. We didn't see
No.
that question.
Yeah. Act now, apologise later, George, is our advice.
For your own edification and enjoyment, I think is okay. Yes, ring AW on Monday and post the same question to Ross Stevenson.
in radio, instant radio solution.
Yeah.
Andrew says, I went to school with Harves. Of course, Paul Harvey has
yeah.
done the cartoons. Can you find a cartoon to
That's
hold
my
up?
favourite part of the book.
Yeah,
Harv's
they're great.
cartoons. It's really good.
And Andrew remembers Peter McKenna kicking drop punts across the playground because he taught them at Marcelin.
Nice one, yes.
Did Harve do the characters for that fine bit of merch that I'm wearing, the Peter from Peterborough?
Yeah, he did.
These were caricatures that, there we go, there's one of the cartoons in the book. The Peter from Peterborough on my T-shirt is one of the caricatures that Harve drew for the 40 footy seasons book last year. If you go to coodabeens.com.au, follow the links, you can either order the book or you can actually go to the shop and get yourself a T-shirts, hoodies, and other things.
Tote bags, tea towels,
And you
and
get-
kid sizes. There's all sorts of stuff there.
And
to
you can
have
get a range of these Harve artworks printed on whatever you want.
And the terrific thing is that we've never seen the callers as well because they're
No.
calling in, and nor had Harve. But I think he's nailed just what the callers would look like,
yes.
from Peter to Pearl, Wayne and Fuzznuts.
I don't know. I don't know how
Hayden.
we got Wayne and Fuzznuts to sit long enough so that he could
No.
sketch them.
An artist's impression.
Okay.
And Hayden from Hawthorn.
Or maybe he got Fuzznuts and Wayne from the Courts
Court records. That's right.
illustrator.
And,
Yeah.
and the great thing about it was, what was it? I was gonna say- oh, also he did him in a style which was an homage to Weg and Jeff Hook and those great newspaper cartoonists that we all grew up with, and that. So that's sort of, and he's very good at that, Harve. So
That's
yes,
terrific.
Thank you for that question,
And there's a
Andrew.
couple of the caricatures there who look a lot like Tony Leonard and Scotty Palmer.
They do,
Yes.
yeah. So had something to do along the way.
How's Marty going? Says Stephen. That's a question
Haven't
for
heard
you,
from
George.
him. How's Marty going? Is he
I
still
don't-
rubbing you down?
No, I don't see him. No.
No,
He lives in the western suburbs. He's locked down.
Yeah,
You
well,
don't seem that keen to have any contact or engage with Marty at all,
Yeah.
George.
You owe Marty money.
From what all we've heard, Marty's only ever given to you, and you've just taken all your
Yeah,
life,
exactly
George.
right.
That's right.
And the man's been massaging your thighs for decades.
As Marty would say, he's enormous thighs.
I think the anti-stalking laws might put into practice.
Yeah.
And the other thing about our book, if I can go back to the book, is
Yes,
that
you're welcome.
we've heard lots over the years from footy champions, but the majority of the interview subjects in our book are champions in their own right, but players on the periphery whose stories are fabulous, but stories that you don't often get to hear. And that's been the beauty of us over the years, talking to these players and getting different points of view other than what you would hear in mainstream media.
Well, a favourite of mine, of course, is my old mate Paddy Murphy, who played one game for St Kilda.
There you go.
And before the ball was bounced, he lost the contact lens in the rooms before the game.
It's one of the great stories we've ever been told, Torchy, where Alan Jeans and Big Carl and a few others were
Doc Bulldog.
on the floor of the changing rooms at Moorabbin, rummaging around trying to find a lost contact lens. And then
Did they have contact lenses then?
They did. He was the hard ones. They weren't the soft ones.
And the thing I've always wondered after we spoke to Pat Torch is it was a premiership year for the Saints, so they must have been super strong, and yet he was good enough to get a game.
Yes.
But he never played again.
Never played one game, got one kick, and never played again.
And it's remarkable to think that a football team, being St Kilda, decided to give a player his first game, make his debut against Collingwood at Collingwood.
Yes.
Talk about a baptism of fire.
Yeah. That's Jack Watson Queen's birthday.
It is.
He was a tough little fellow, though, Paddy. So terrific player.
And anyway, the great thing for Pat was he couldn't find the contact lens, so he took the other one out. And he said he couldn't see a thing, which is a good thing when you're at Collingwood. You didn't have to see anything, but he heard them.
Yeah. My favourite story in here is from an interview from, I think, about 2009, similar to that One Game Wonder segment that we did with Gordon Town. And Gordon Town was an overaged player. He played local footy until his early 20s. Then he went to Preston and became good. He wrote a letter to Collingwood to ask to train, and they told him no. And then 2 years later, they invited him down. He played in 1 or 2 games. He was there when Tommy got sacked, and then he never played. He went back to Preston and played in that year's final series.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing. And then when we spoke to Mick Irwin, who took over from Tommy, he said, I remember him. He was a snowy-headed little rover. So that was the description of Gordon Town, a snowy-headed little rover.
I thought he was a dark-haired half-back.
Yeah, I thought he was tall too.
Can you check that up?
No, he calls him a snowy-headed rover.
Well, no wonder he didn't get much further then. Mick getting confused with someone else. Huh? You told a great story too that's in the book there about the night he went down to training. Of course, these days, as soon as the coach is sacked, it's all over the, you go straight to the website and the news feeds
Everything,
and people tweet it. And well, a lot of people, they went down to training on the 5 o'clock on the night, and half the players didn't know Tommy had been sacked during the afternoon. But the word had got around, and he says there's about 5,000 people at training at Victoria Park, and they were outraged that Tommy had been sacked.
They were.
And there was this sort of revolt from the fans, and the players were coming out onto the track for training, and Peter Moore was the captain leading them. And Gordon said they got halfway up the race, and Ray Byrne, who played at Collingwood, was a bit of a character.
Yeah.
He suddenly turned around and said, stop all the players. And they let Peter Moore go on his own, and he got out onto the ground, and the 5,000 turned on Peter Moore.
Well, there is a cartoon of it.
There is a cartoon
in the book. There's a very good question there. A comment from David.
Hey, David.
Because we got an email from Pat Murphy during the week who told us this, that his great nephew plays for Collingwood these days.
Yeah.
Whose name someone else is going to...
Nathan?
Yeah.
No, it must be something.
Oh, no, stop, Billy. There's the cartoon of Peter Moore running around the boundary with the crowd all jeering at him after Tommy was sacked.
Poor old Pete.
It is Nathan.
Then he had to go to Melbourne.
We should get him on, actually.
Yeah, we should.
Tell Matty to get him on. Gary's come back, Billy, to say thank you for the outline of the wetlands.
Oh, you're welcome, Gary.
But Gary does say he would have thought swamp may have been a better description.
A good point, well made, Gary. Yes.
So Scott's asked if we had each had a favourite story. I've given mine, the Gordon Town, which is the second in the book. Torchy's gone with Pat Murphy. Kofi, have you got a favourite story?
Well, I could have gone with Pat Murphy. I like Dennis Hewson.
Dennis Hewson.
Yeah. But I was thinking of Des Headland. Dennis Hewson he ticked 3 boxes for segments we've had on the show.
Yep.
One game wonder.
Yes.
Goal with his first kick.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids are all right, father and son.
Was it father and son or grandfather and son?
No, father and son.
Yeah. So Dennis's father, Fred,
was captain of Fitzroy in 1944
when they won the flag.
Yes.
So he ticked all 3 boxes. He plays his first game. He kicks a goal with his first kick, and then he does his knee early in the second quarter and never played again.
Never played again.
He went back and played at South Warrnambool.
Yeah.
But so Dennis is could have had him on 3 times. We managed to confine it to 1 interview. So so that's one. And of course,
And another favourite of mine is Jane Wines, mother of Ollie,
Yeah.
because she was a crackerjack interview. She told us a great story about driving from Echuca, where the Wines family live, to Adelaide for games and all the towns they'd go through along the Silo Trail and different places. So, yeah, there's some great stories with mums in there as well.
and Billy, what's your favourite story? My question should be, have you read the book? There's, by the way, there's
Ollie's Trolley.
Ollie's Trolley with Jane Wines in control of it. Thank you, Harv. Back to you, Billy.
I like growing up in the shadow of Cardinia Park. I like the story on John Nowak, who played 1 game for the Cats, and also Rockford Devonish Mears, the best hyphenated surname in football history. They're my 2 fave.
And it shows how life's moved on too, because Rockford Devonish Mears ended up in West Australia and living there. And when we interviewed him, we said he took over the number 2 jumper from Dennis Marshall, and which was a great honour. And he rapped about that. He never played a senior game, but we did ask him, you know, do you still see Dennis Marshall around Perth at all? And he said, Rockford said, he goes down to the Mossman Park Bowling Club quite a lot.
There you go.
And I've been meaning to go in and catch up with him, you know. And I think Billy said, you could start with, I took over your jumper, Dennis. That'd be nice. I wonder if he's been down to the bowling club. Dennis Marshall's just turned 80, by the way.
I bet he still looks a dapper young.
I'm sure he does
quite
too.
young fellow.
There's a message there from Brett
Hello,
to tell
Brett.
us that Pat Murphy babysat him in 1964. Well, how about that?
Right.
Really?
Pat would have been all of 15, I
Well,
guess.
we were at school
14,
together. Pat and
15.
I were at school together, and Brian Ward as well. We were all went to the same school, and we had a pretty good footy team in those days. One here I really liked was the Bernie Conlon.
Oh, I love that chat. Yeah, that was
because
great.
Bernie was an Oakley Districts boy and played with people like Warwick Kappa and David Rees-Jones and Stevie Wright and Michael Wright, and they were fun fellas, those guys. And,
Bernie was one who relocated after his days at the Swans. Went to South Australia to play Sandford and stayed.
Yes,
And he's kept in contact
He's
with
still
us.
there.
So,
And he's followed in your footsteps, Torch, in that at West Adelaide,
yeah, I think so.
he's become president of the past players.
Excellent. Yeah.
You could have a national past players
Well,
president's
you know how
conference.
some coaches, but they have players who follow them who go into coaching,
Yeah.
like the Park and Dynasty, or
Tommy Hafey, yeah.
we've got the past presidents players.
Past players, president. There's a very young face there in the bottom left.
Yeah.
Hello. That could be there's our youth policy, whoever asked it before, that bringing Coodabeen's fans, Swans fans as well.
Yes.
Yep.
For 40
More of it.
years.
It's amazing the number of people who say, oh, my dad listened to you and his dad listened to you. And I was speaking to someone on the peninsula the other day whose great-grandfather introduced the Coodabeens to his family. So it has gone from the great-grandfather to the grandfather to the father, and now that son is listening to the program.
4 generations.
4 generations.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I've had a 3rd generation encounter, but you've seen my 3 and raised me 4.
I've raised you a generation.
Looks like that might be Stephen from Sydney, who is a regular quiz contestant.
Oh, hello,
Yeah.
Stephen. Nice to see you.
Hi, Stephen.
Stephen, just put your hand up. Did you win the quiz?
Oh, well done.
Did your prize arrive? He's giving you that one.
Doubtful.
Oh,
Thanks, Stephen.
Well,
Yeah.
there might be trouble getting things across the interstate border at the moment.
Yes, things are gummed up.
I'm going to put the prize in a removalist van. It's guaranteed to go both ways.
And Gary, you asked about Peter from Peter
Peter
Barra t-shirt there. That's one of Harv's creations.
Yeah.
Available at coodabeens.com.au.
Yep.
Peter, Gary.
Gary, just go to the Coodabeen's website and there's an online shop and you can order your own, put your size in and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Okay. It'd be terrific if we could sell a few, because my daughter wants to have the operation and I've got to be able to pay for it. And
Oh, you should see my doctor. If you can't afford the operation, he'll touch up the X-ray.
I think that might do us, Scott.
have we got to the end of the questions?
Well, yeah, I think
We
so.
have. Michael Wilkinson up in the world, the Wilkinson publishing people, if they could just put their video back on so we can just see them for a minute to see whether they're happy with what we've done and release us.
don't forget, you can always write into coodabeen.com.au and engage with us, and we can read out your email on air, or we can answer any questions directly to you. So we're always very happy to hear from our listeners.
And as Tracy says, she hopes to see us all on Brownlow Night at the MCC.
Oh, that'd be nice.
It's open for bookings, and of course, the MCC, like us, have got our fingers crossed that that night can go ahead. You can imagine what it's like running any sort of events thing, and especially the MCC, of which I'm not a member, but you are.
I am,
Andy.
most certainly a full member. Thank you very much. And we don't like your types in our reserve.
That's right.
But they've got 100,000 members, and they over the course of the year, they have that many, like the games themselves, and lots of events, and they put some up, and then they've had to cancel and postpone all that sort of stuff. We're hoping that the Brownlow night might be
We'd love to see you guys.
well, it might be the chance to come out of the tunnel. We will.
We're doing something.
We still think we're doing an OB at the MCG anyway, even if it's not there. Thanks for buying the book, and thanks for listening over the years, and it's just been lots of fun. I need to go and lie down now.
Yes. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Great job, Chris.
Thank you.